So, excuse me, if you are joining me and it looks like I am in a episode of the '70s show, I assure you I'm not smoked out or smoking. Uh, I was at the lakefront yesterday, and my daughter, who is one or so, 1.5 or something like that, decided to take off right when we got to the beach. And as we adults often do, went in a little bit deeper than she should have into the lake. And of course, that necessitated that daddy kick into Superman mode and jump in after her. And as you can imagine, my phone was the victim of the whole event. And so, yeah, I had to throw the phone, and I thought I had thrown it up on the beach, but apparently it didn't make it that far and ended up falling into the lake. And so as a result, my screen or my camera must have steam and water behind it. And so that's why your view looks like it does. A bit hazy. As I stated before, I am not smoked out. I'm not in the mystery machine, if you know about Scooby-Doo. But no, nonetheless, it's just water damage. I'm gonna have to get it fixed. See if I can open the phone up and maybe wipe out the camera. I don't know. I'll have to take it up to T-Mobile. So, been a long time since I touched down. I just wanted to get out and get some sunshine, get some positive energy from the universe, and figured I'd turn on the camera on the journey. And if you've been paying attention, I've been talking a lot about frequencies, and their effects on us, and how we deal with them, sometimes unaware. But I'm learning more and more how important they are. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit. The other part I wanted to touch on, having to do with the court and establishing actions, legal actions, and what have you. I think it's very important that we come to an understanding and a conclusion, an understanding on how the courts work, how to even start an action, and from a layman's position, right? I don't ever want to overcomplicate a situation. It doesn't do you any good for me to overcomplicate things. And so I want to really bring a simplistic understanding and application to filing an action and what have you. Yeah, I'll have to maybe put it, as BB Production says, you could put it in a bag of rice, soak up the excess water. Yeah, I should have done that last night, and I did not. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button as you come on in. And so on the last upload I did, I was explaining my hiatus. I've taken a little break to kind of re-energize and reinvigorate myself. A lot of times on this journey, I'm sure you can appreciate, we find ourselves having to encourage ourselves. You know, this is not the popular way of thinking. It's not the popular way of living, exercising, whatever, right? And so this is oftentimes against the norm. But anyways, I digress. We have to get a deeper understanding of the court system, its functionality, the proper way to address the courts. What I'm really learning is that a lot of us have had a great misunderstanding of the legal system. I'll just say jurisprudence in the American law system. A lot of us, you know, we jumped on the bandwagon back in 2020 and 2019 and on. And there were some people on the YouTube platforms that were saying, hey, did you know this? Everything is a treasure hunt, you know, national treasure. And that's the way everything was sold and billed to us, myself included. And so who doesn't want to be in the know, or who doesn't want to be part of a community that pursues after hidden truths, I'll say. You know, that's a catchy thing. Everybody wants to be part of that, right? Oh, this was never this for 50 years. We've been told that this is how everything functions, and this guru or this platform is telling us that's all a lie this whole time. Oh, I want to be part of that, right? You know, you got the whole slavery issue. You know, the plantation, slave owners and all that kind of stuff, founding fathers, all these stories that we've heard. And along comes again a platform and tells us this was all a lie, you know, so everybody jumps on the bandwagon. And so we're, you know, we've all been kind of subject to that. And so it's caused us to scrutinize every single thing, right? Every single thing. And so each of these platforms are being created, you know, from the standpoint of scrutinizing the entire system. Now, the system itself, you know, was put together by the colonizers. I'll just say it like that, right? By people who were not indigenous to this land, as the story goes. Okay, and obviously they came over here with their own ideals. They came over here with their own motivations, and you know, and whatever they wanted to do, they came over to do what they wanted to do, and they instituted a system that was conducive to their ends, what they hope to accomplish. And if you don't know by now, this system is founded upon contracting, commerce, legacies, bloodlines. Okay, that's what this whole, I call it, grand experiment is founded upon. And so, and it makes no difference where you come from, where your family comes from, your culture, or what have you. Here, per se, it's less about your culture, and it's more of an introduction into a new way of living, a melting pot, as it were, a social order, a construct, you know, a legal construct. It's more about that. Okay, you can basically leave your culture behind, whatever country you come from, whatever region you've come from. You can essentially leave that behind, and when you come here, it's a whole new opportunity. I'll say. Okay, it's it's a legal construct, and so a lot of us had been kind of groomed to discredit this system, to see it as evil. Against Heather Bell, grand rising to you as well. Thank you for being here. You know, and so a lot of us have gone headlong into attempting to discredit the system, you know, to scrutinize every level of it, when the realization should be, as you look around you, right? Look all around you. All you see is businesses, factories, companies, you know, universities. That's all you see. Every billboard is vying for your attention. You know, they go to great lengths to affect the psyche of humans through color schemes, sounds. You know, why do you think they play the type of music that they play when you're shopping in a shopping center? Why do you think that if you go to restaurants, if you do, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, what are the color schemes that they use in these restaurants? It's the red, the orangish yellow color, white, black, right? And these are all part of studies that they have done dealing with the psyche of humans, how we process things, what is attractive to us. And so this is the experiment that you live in, known as the United States and the United States of America. All right. It is founded and based on commerce, on attracting you. The case I often refer to is H.A. Friend v. Professional Stationery, where it says that contracts basically are there to lure you in. They lure you, or another word is induce you in. Okay, so this is the foundation of the United States of America. All right, all is commerce. All is commerce. And so, again, when you're talking about, your rights, your pursuits, and what have you, we have to think in accordance with the aforementioned. Okay. Now, the saying, ignorance of the law is of no excuse. Okay, so most of us are and have been ignorant to exactly where we live, what this place is really about. Okay, and the ones that set the system up, all right, and the ones that enforce, or the three branches of government, the ones that enforce it, and the ones that write the laws and what have you, they're not going to let the system be taken down or discredited. They're not going to allow that to happen. And really, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. The system's been going on for over 200 years, and there are people that are successful at it. Okay, there's people that are successful at it. There's a lot of people actually that are successful at it. And so if there are people that are successful at it, then that means that there must be something that works. But what's the kicker? The kicker is whether or not you know how to play the game. All right. And so what I contend is a lot of us are actually angry, upset, disappointed at the fact that we don't feel like we got a fair shake because we don't know how to play the game. We were never taught how to play the game. And so this is causing, a lot of us to be, to feel disenfranchised. Like what opportunity is here for us, And so with that being said, I say that, and I believe that we need to take control of our own destinies. Education, let me just say this, before I got to, this understanding now that I feel like I have, right? Before I got to this understanding, and I apologize for the aura again, my phone fell in the lake, and my camera is affected, but it is what it is. As BB Production says, I have an aura. We'll just take it. Look at the positivity. All right. So, anyways, before I came to this understanding that I have now, right, and I'm steadily growing, I was like, why participate in the education system? It's all about money, whatever. They're just trying to get you in debt and blase, right? But now when I look at it, that's how you play. That's how you play in the system. Okay. And I'm not saying to go get into debt by the hundreds of thousands. That's not what I'm saying, but you can self-teach, be self-taught. Okay. And you could probably do it in half the time. Okay, and then it's after that, after you become self-taught, you got your books. Okay, then after that, now it's time to market yourself. Okay, and these are concepts that we were never really taught. Okay, this is information that the wealthy make certain that their children are passed, that they obtain this type of information. We're on the late bus, most of us, especially if you look like me. We're kind of on the late bus. So a lot of us in our 30s and 40s are learning these fundamental basics of economy, and some of us still haven't got it. Okay, and then I'll just put this out there. It's one thing to learn about something. It's another thing to know how to apply it. And application is the key. Okay, but I digress. So let us not be, rage against the machine. Let us not be, let's discredit the system because it's not fair that we never got the chance that the elite or their children got. How about we do this? How about we collaboratively and individually self-teach ourselves? That sounds like a redundancy. Become self-taught. And then furthermore, let's make sure that we hand down the things that we learn plus the application of how to apply it to someone younger, someone underneath us, right? And let's get away from the emotional engagement, right? Let's vibrate on a higher level. And I wanted to talk a little bit about frequencies again. I will get there. But I just wanted to admonish you today that we live in commerce. We live in a state of contracting. That's where we live at. Okay, so just learn the game, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you to learn the game. I'm not saying that I know it all. That's not my claim. But I will be the student, okay, so that I can translate, and convey, a more expedited lesson plan, so that you don't have to necessarily. You may not have the time. You may not. May not be your calling. You might not be a dedicated researcher, which is fine, right? Fine. That's why services are there, to make it more convenient for those who don't have the time to do it themselves. Okay. And so that's what I know my calling is. Okay. And so I don't necessarily mind, as long as, I have your support, your understanding, and whatever, your patience, your understanding, all the things that it takes to successfully do what it is I'm doing. And so I don't mind doing the hard work and the heavy lifting, the research, and then packaging that for you. And so I'm going to commit to do that. Okay. As I've been doing, I'm going to commit to doing that. Okay. And then what you have to do is just have, number one, an open mind, a readiness and willingness to learn. Okay. It's somewhat of a humility thing, right? Obviously. But obviously fact check, everything that is said here. But I do usually use reputable sources of my information, and I will share those sources with you. But make no mistake about it. This is contracting at its finest. This is the basics and fundamentals of this particular system here. All right. If you go over into a third world country, into the bush or something like that, it's going to be a bit different. You'll have more individuality, right? You won't have Johnny Cop coming by every 30 seconds or 30 minutes, right? And trying to inflict or afflict what are known as statutes, code, and ordinances on you, right? You might see one police officer every month or something like that out there, But here, where commerce is essentially the bloodline, or it's what causes everything to work. All the trucks you see going down the highway, okay, semi-trucks. These are transporting commercial goods, movable goods, all day, every day. Okay, and you're riding the information highway, as it were. All right, this is what is going on. This is where you live. And as I stated before, the difference between most of us and the elite class is that they don't, how shall I put it nicely? They don't shit where they eat. Okay? That's the difference between them and us. It's like, if you know somewhat of the story of the plantation, right? Okay? The slaves shit where they eat. They lived on the plantation where they labored, you know, probably 16 hours a day. And then they would live right there. Whereas the elite, they work in one region and then they retire or go back to another region, another way of life. Okay, so what I'm saying with that is, this place was never meant, or well, for those that know, you're not supposed to eat where you shit. You're supposed to have your estate somewhere else. You're supposed to come here and work, punch in and punch out. You're supposed to grow and build businesses, become an entrepreneur, which is the American way to be an entrepreneur. It was never for you to merely make someone else wealthy. You were supposed to be working on your own legacy. Okay? But see how things have broken down. The understanding is broken. And therefore, you're starting to or you have been realizing you've been born into generations of a broken economy. Because, again, we did not know how to play the game the correct way. And nobody was there really to teach you the tricks of the trade, as they say. All right? Most of us grew up in the public school system. All right? The public school system was not designed to give you the cheat notes in how to get ahead and how to monopolize on the system. That's not what the public school system was for. The public school system was to give you public education. What is public? Public is government. That's what it is. That's the type of education they want you to have. Now, that is to keep you at a certain level, because they need to build worker bees, right, that will undergird and be the foundation of the system to keep the infrastructure going. Now, with that being said, don't take the occasion to see that as, how shall I say, a negative thing for, you know, for that way of thinking, for the founding fathers to have thought that way. Because guess what? You may be working in a building that sits on top of 10 levels, skyscrapers, whatever, right? But don't you know that in the basement or on the lower tier of that building, there are people who are doing things that you don't find enjoyable, you know, don't make you the best money, right? You couldn't see yourself pushing a mop and a broom, but there's a custodian, there's somebody there that's doing the jobs that you don't want to do, and they're making maybe half of what you're making. But guess what? If they were not there, perhaps the business would not function. Okay? And so everybody has a role to play. Even the scripture says that the poor will be with us always. So there's always going to be poor. There's always going to be someone making less than someone else. This is where you live. So it's called the capitalist system. Someone is always capitalizing on someone else's lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom. Someone else is always capitalizing on the lot in life that you may have been given. Meaning you might have come from one side of the tracks, right? And the wealthy come from another side of the tracks. Look at it from the standpoint of an ant colony, if you will. I mean, we've all seen this, right? Everybody has a job to do, okay? And if the system breaks down, then the system ceases to exist. Meaning, if everybody doesn't pull their weight and do the some people do the unfavorable work, cleaning toilets. You see what I'm saying? Whereas you might be like, ain't no way. But guess what? It has to be done. And so what I'm saying is that maybe we should not be looking at things as bad and good, but on different frequency levels. Okay, I'll transition into my discussion on frequency for a moment. Maybe that is the real issue. Maybe there is not, again, good or bad. Maybe there is low frequency and high frequency. And now what has been downloaded into my spirit this past week is that you have a choice to tune in to whichever frequency you desire to experience. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Meaning, what do I mean by that? Meaning, if you're familiar again with the radio, back in the day, you used to have the radio system and they had the knobs on there for tuning. Okay? A particular component is called a tuner. Okay? And you could tune into a particular station. For example, here, we have from 88.1 all the way up to, I think, 140 or 170. Okay, these are all the different frequencies, channels, or whatever that you can tune into using that knob. Okay, and so there are high frequencies and there are low frequencies. Okay, and you even have mid-range, I believe there is, mid-frequencies or whatever, wavelengths and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on that. The point being is that the low frequencies are not necessarily bad, and the high frequencies are not necessarily good. Each has a role to play. Okay? Each is necessary to carry signals and what have you. So everything has its place. So it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. Now it has a particular, oh, we lost sound. Heather, can you hear me? Heather Bell says we lost sound. Thank you for that. All right, let me know if you can hear me. Apparently we lost sound. Just let me know if we are back. Can you hear me? Oh, politically incorrect says, I can hear you fine, never lost it. Okay. All right. Not sure what's going on. I'm driving through downtown right now, so it's possible that the frequencies are being affected. But okay, Heather Bell says gotcha. Okay. So yeah, Heather Bell says they don't teach entrepreneurship. They teach you to be enslaved to the system. Okay, right. But I guess what I'm saying is there has to be the worker bees. There has to be people that do the jobs that other people don't want to do. And remember, in 1865, they ended involuntary servitude. Excuse me. Now, so in a sense, they did exactly what it is that we would request them to do, which is stop making me do stuff that I don't want to do. Stop forcing me to do things that I don't want to do, right? They stopped it in 1865. But guess what? If there are no slaves to work the plantation, there is no one to pick the corn, the cotton, the soybeans, and all that kind of stuff, right? Then guess what? This whole experiment goes bye-bye because there is no slaves. There is nobody that will willingly work 16 hours in the fields picking cotton, soybean, and other crops. Do you see what I'm saying? Again, remember where we are. Remember where we are. This is the plantation. This is a commercial plantation. All is commerce. That's where we are. Okay? Now, we do have a remedy, a recourse of action. We don't have to stay here on the plantation. And I know that it's easier said than done. I know that most of us don't have the ability to just pick up, pack up, pick up, and just leave the country, right? Most of us, and if we were given an opportunity to, we wouldn't do it anyways, right? Right. Because we kind of like where we're at. We kind of like the cars. We kind of like the skyscrapers. We kind of like the ocean and the rivers and the lakes. We kind of like, the bridges, the roadways that are paved at somewhat nice. You know what I mean? Sometimes we kind of like those things. We like to walk into the store and just be able to grab what it is that we want. We like those things. So when you hear some people saying, well, when you hear people saying, well, this is the greatest country in the world, and we're a blessed nation, all that, they're basically stating and conveying that we have those amenities. Whereas you might go over somewhere else, it's going to be a little bit more harder or a harder struggle, right? So you're sacrificing what's known as your individuality. Most times you're sacrificing some of your natural rights that you would have if you lived out in the jungle somewhere. You would have your natural rights, right? You could do pretty much whatever you want to, right? Right? That's just what it is. Whereas here, the commercial system necessitates that there is an organization to things. Otherwise, you would have pirates, right? You'd have pirates robbing you. You would go find some land, right? And you would plant your seed in the ground and you would wait for your harvest. And before you can get to your harvest, there's pirates and people coming and taking your stuff. So what do? They instituted police enforcement. What is the purpose of police enforcement, and what is the history of police enforcement? Do you know this? Okay, so let me clue you in. Back in London, England, okay, back then in the shipping trades, the merchant class, the shipping trades, the ships would come into dock, okay, full of product, obviously, right? Full of product. And so these ships would oftentimes get looted by whomever, right? And so the wealthy elite were the owners of these ships, right? That would bring all this product in. And so the wealthy elite got tired of them, of people robbing their ships, and they hired private security, as it were, right? That would enforce the policy of the particular company or the wealthy tycoon or entrepreneur or whatever. Okay. And so that's where the police came from, the policy enforcer. Their job was to protect the merchandise on that ship as they sat there, because sometimes it would take months to unload these things. Have you ever seen these massive ships with all the shipping containers? Right. And so their job, once again, the policy enforcers, is to protect the merchandise on the ship. Now, if you can pick up where I'm going with that, the police go around your city, and what they do, what their job is, it hasn't changed much. Their job is to protect the merchandise, to protect local businesses, okay? And to see that no one is interrupting, okay, commerce and trade. That's what the job of the policy enforcer is. Now, you are looked at as merchandise. You are. And so if you harm one of the citizens of a particular city or state, the police have a right to stop you. They have a right to arrest you because you are considered the merchandise of the particular city and state that you live in. How do we know that? Because look at the definition, the legal definition, mind you, of a citizen. Okay? And that is a member. A member. You've signed up, you've entered into contract to be subject to the state and its laws. That's what you sign. That's what the citizen is by legal definition. And so what is the state's duty in relation to its citizen? To protect the citizen and the citizen's rights. And so, again, you are the merchandise. And so the police, right, are tasked with protecting the merchandise of the state, because without the citizen, without you, without your allegiance, the state would cease to exist. And so, in a nutshell, we have to come to a fuller understanding of what is really going on. And you can make the decision as to whether or not you want to continue to be part of this system, right? But we cannot, per se, render it invalid, because it's organized, as opposed to, again, living in the bush, living in the jungle, where there is no organization. You get up one day, you can decide to go chop down sugarcane. You get up another day, you can decide to just lay on the beach all day or near a body of water, right? You get up one day, you can decide to do whatever you want to. It's unorganized. Okay, what they would call uncivilized. If you didn't want to, if you're living in the jungle and you have children with you, if you don't want to send them to school, you don't have to. It's unorganized. It's uncivilized. You don't even have to teach them the English language. You could teach them to make sounds or to draw symbols to communicate. Uncivilized, unorganized. Okay? Again, in line with the conversation of frequency, I don't think it's proper to look at it as good or bad. I think it's more advantageous to look at things from the standpoint of high frequency, low frequency. Okay? Or even better yet, positive frequency, negative frequency, or positive, negative. I think that would be the proper way to look at things from this point on. And I believe that will help us to have a deeper understanding, okay, of what really is going on. Bad and good, I think they really take away from the potency of realization and recognition. Okay, I would say it's a very primitive and uneducated, if I dare say, I could say, a very uneducated way of looking at things when everything is frequency. In mathematics, there are no, tell me this, in mathematics, which you know, they're consistent, right? It's true mathematics, formulas, equations, right? Well, they should be true. If they're not, then they're, But anyways, is there any quote unquote good numbers? Do you call negative numbers on the negative line? Do you call that bad? Oh, those are bad numbers. No, you don't say that, do you? No. The numbers above zero, right? Going into the positive, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up. Those are positive numbers, right? Do you call those good numbers? So why would we spend and waste our time grading things in this realm as good and bad? Doesn't make sense. No, it's either a negative frequency or it's a positive frequency. And it's up to you as to whether or not you are going to tune yourself in to a particular frequency. Let me give an example. If someone was trying to pick a fight with me, okay, and you've probably experienced this, I have options. Let's just say, let's not take it to the furthest extreme, okay? Let's stay with me here. Let's just say that someone is being argumentative. I'm not saying they want to fight you and go to blows. I'm just saying they're being argumentative with you, and you feel it. It's negative. Now, don't you have choices? Can't you say, you know what? I see what you're on, and I'm not particularly wanting to play with this right now. I don't want to tune into that frequency. And so you may choose to either leave, okay, or block them out altogether. What I'm trying to demonstrate is we have that power. We have that authority, that power, because we are transmitters as well as receivers, antennas. That's why you have the 5 senses that you have, right? Touch, taste, hearing, sight. I missed one. Smell. All of these are transmitters and receptors. Someone will ask, what is my purpose here on earth? That's what it is. You're a transmitter and a receiver. Okay? Oh, man. Don't even get me started on that right now. You're a transmitter and a receiver. Okay? And so not only that, but we have the power to tune. You can, have you ever been talking to somebody or somebody was talking to you and they say, hey, are you tuning me out? Because your eyes gloss over. You're all off over here and they're talking to you from over there, but you're all off over here. You just completely tune them out. Why? Because you're not particularly for the frequency that they're putting out. Their vibration is off. Their wave pattern, their waveform is off. It's not reaching you. You know, you got high frequency signals and you got low. And they're not really meeting. They may be running somewhat parallel with each other, but they're not on the same frequency. That's the power that we have as what they call humans. We have the power to tune in or tune out. But nonetheless, all day long, there are frequencies around us. Okay? And we can decide once again whether or not to allow them to affect us or infect us. Okay? And so I want to really start going a little bit deeper and more specifically into those frequencies, learning how to properly deal with them as I'm learning, okay? And applying, more importantly, okay? I really want to share those experiences, both on the law side and personally, that I am actually involved in, so that I can talk with a bit of intellect and experience and not just be running my mouth. And so everything I've just shared with you involving frequencies, I've been struggling with this whole week. I've been experimenting with this whole week, okay? And now I'm sharing, okay? And I'm going to go deeper into that. Now, for the most part, I want to really pay homage to my Patreon subscribers, those who are supporting myself and my family as, you know, I do this, as I dedicate this time and energy, right? which should translate into some form of compensation, right? Right. You expend your energy, right, in a good place. Let me take that back. In a positive place, or from a positive place, right? And that's supposed to return to you, right? When you put out positive, you should get back positive. All right. And so again, this is what I do. This is what I love to do, right? And so I'm going to continue to do what I love to do, what I feel like I'm called to do. That's the only way to get fulfillment. That's it. And so I want to delve deeper into that conversation of frequencies. I've already shared with you manifestation. I've given you the algorithm, or what I would call the formula, to cause the immaterial, those things that you hope in or hope for, to how to make those start to materialize. And now I want to be strictly honest and truthful with you, and demonstrate, these things, and prove to you that these things work. Okay, that's what I aspire to do and be. I'm not just going to be giving you information. I'm going to show you that these things work. Now, but I want to get into that, and also simultaneously, we want to start to discuss and hash out the filings for actions, to bring actions. How many of you know that our biggest problem, okay, okay, is not the system. The biggest problem is our status and standing in the system. That's the biggest problem. For there are people that succeed in this system, and there are people that don't. We can choose to be the ones who succeed in this system, but we have to know how to work in the system and not against it. And so I really want to start to properly put perspective on this system. And if you're gonna, if you're with me on this ride, on this journey, I mean, you're welcome to it. I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't already, to go on over to the Patreon, the KnowledgeWell Patreon, and join up, because we're going to put a lot of the nuggets there. Okay. And so with that being said, a little bit on the court situation. The policies known as civil procedures are important. They're very important. Why? Because there has to be an organization. There has to be, well, that's what I was going to say. This is an organized thing, right? And so it's not that the founding fathers or any officer or politician, it's not that they thought that they were perfect. It's not that they thought that there wouldn't be hiccups in the system. They didn't set out to be 100%. They set out to make sure that there was some type of consistency for the most part, full well knowing that it's not perfect. It's fallible. It's a fallible system. And we'll kind of learn as we go forward. Okay? So don't think that the founding fathers, politicians, and what have you, don't believe that they think that everything is perfect. That's a misconception. But what they did is they put a system in place that would add some type of consistency. In other words, if Courtney does A, right, and does B, that A and B is going to equal out to C. They had to put some kind of a formula in place, an algorithm in place, so that when you trip that switch, as it were, out rolls a corresponding result. That is civil procedure. That's why you must dot your I's and cross your T's when you file a document into the court. Because the court is not there to create new law. They are merely there to interpret the intent of the statute that was written by the legislature. So if you don't come in there correct, it's not the judge's job to invalidate the procedure that was established by the legislature, the lawmakers. So they can't allow you to proceed if you didn't follow the proper procedure. It's not because they're trying to stop you from your remedy. It's that if that judge allows you through when you didn't meet the prerequisites and the requisites, what happens? Essentially, they have usurped the authority of the other branch of government, the legislative branch. And that would be a violation of the separation of powers. So in a nutshell, perspective, y'all, perspective. This is going to be very key going into this new paradigm. We're in a shift. We're in a paradigm shift. Stuff's about to get different if you haven't already noticed. You're not living in what your mom and dad and grandparents were living in anymore. This is a paradigm shift. And we better understand the game or the game's going to stand on you. I'm saying, okay. And so we've been angry, upset, disenfranchised for the longest due to our own ignorance. You know, we tried to come into the court and file documents not in accordance with civil procedure. And so we forced the judges to say, what is this? I've never even seen it. What is this? Natural law this and a flag here and, you know, a thumbprint here and all this kind of stuff. None of that is in civil procedure. You're introducing a foreign document into the current or extant system known as the American jurisprudence. That's why we're getting the pushback we've been getting. Not because, oh, they know the truth. Let's hide the truth. Let's not let them do it. No, that's not what it's been. I'm telling you firsthand. You know, some of y'all know the journey I've gone on. I've done all that. And where has it gotten me? Zero. And you know how I study, how I research. So I take this very serious and I'm very thorough. So I'm telling you the truth right here. Love it or hate it. But I'm not only mentioning an issue and a problem. I'm willing to go further and present solutions. Okay? And so if you will, come along with me on this journey. What I'm going to do is I am going to begin filings properly in accordance with civil procedure. And I'm going to share that journey with you all, okay? But as I stated before, you'll have to do the Patreon. You have to do the Patreon. I can't put all of that into the public, okay? For obvious reasons, okay? That's not the way that we got to play the game the way that the game is meant to be played. So this is a service that we are going to be offering here, KnowledgeWell Media, okay, to our private tier members, private members, okay, over at the Patreon. Look in the description of this video and others for the Patreon link and gain a subscription. And you're going to see, I'm going to document, okay, today is what? The 4th, I think, of June, I believe. I'm going to document my journey, starting from square one. And you're going to see, in accordance with the law and the civil procedure, the outcome. Then you can make judgment for yourself. Okay? So that's what I'm putting on the table. Hopefully you will come along and join me on that ride. It's going to be exciting. I feel like we've learned a lot. And I feel like we're going to learn a whole lot more. But I think we're going to make strides in this journey, as opposed to merely conjecture, unjust enrichment, that's happening by some of the gurus out here that are sharing information that they have not properly vetted themselves. It sounds good, but I'm gonna tell you like this right now. The whole natural, my aura is gone. Oh no, oh no. But thank you. Politically correct is incorrect. I'm sorry. I have become the registered owner of the business name and have a certificate of good standing. That's awesome. That's awesome. I've become the registered owner of the business name. Oh, and have a certificate. Okay, very good. Your aura is gone. Oh, Heather Bell, my bad. I missed your. I get it now, though. We choose our own in this earthly realm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's positive and negative, not good or bad. It's positive or negative. And it's all about frequencies and vibrations. Okay? Listen, we are not, I know we think that we are the top of the food chain. I know we believe that, but that's not what the universe shows me. Okay? Okay, look, let me just share this with you. Just perspective. This is what we do here, right? This is what we do. Let's gain some perspective. Okay? Check this out. Here's you. Right? This is you. Do you know that there are bugs, mites, what do you call them? All different sizes that are on your skin, right? Crawling around on your skin, eating whatever they need to eat off of your skin, fungus and all this kind of stuff. They serve a purpose. Okay? Follow me. Do you also know that inside of you, you have fungus, bacteria, germ, all kinds of different things going on inside of you? There is a whole nother world. So follow me. You have the universe or universes. We don't know what's really out there, whatever. And stars accordingly, planets, asteroids. There's a whole universe of activity, allegedly, right? Just go with me. And so you can keep going larger and larger to the furthest reaches of your imagination, I'll just say. If you want to believe that the Marvel universe is out there somewhere too, and DC universe is out there, and there's superheroes flying around from planet to planet. All right, so go as big as you want to. But I'm gonna flip it on you. Do you know that just as you imagine a large universe, what about the smallest universes? As in all of the things that are going on inside of your body. You think this is what it's about, this cover, this shell. But oh, there's so much more. And I'm not talking about what you would say spiritual, like, angels, demons, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there are literal living organisms inside of you sustaining the organs that you need to live, breathe, digest. That's a world inside of you. In other words, there are little things in there that have legs and they communicate with each other. I'm not saying they speak English, but you know what I mean? They're communicating in their own way inside of you right now. And check this out. They're keeping you alive. Without them, you would not live. So you think you're the top of the food chain. If these things stop working inside of you, I'm not talking about your organs. I'm talking about the bacteria and fungus that cause them organs to work the way that they're supposed to work. Now, if that ain't enough to blow your mind, those fungus and bugs and all that are inside those cells and all those things that are working inside that are alive, what's keeping them alive? Yeah. So it ain't necessarily how big something is, but what about the smallest things? Whole nother universe, whole nother way of thinking, whole nother existence. I'm telling you, it's deeper. It's deeper than we know. They perceive these fungus, these little bacteria, these little whatever they would be called under microscopes, only visible under microscopes. They have a different understanding than what we have. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So that's a bit humbling, right? Yeah, Gulliver's Travels, very good, politically incorrect. It puts a different perspective on things. You know, you look around, like I'm driving right now through downtown, right? I see cars, I see flowers, I see plants, I see the light, I see sun, I see buildings, I see all this stuff. This is all part of my current understanding, perspective, etc., etc. But inside, they are having their own experience with their current perspectives. That's what I'm saying. There are worlds inside of worlds, inside of worlds, inside of worlds, inside of worlds, inside of worlds. And it goes on and on for eternity. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? So all is frequency. All is frequencies. And I'll also state that your senses allow you to be affected by the stimuli, the things that are around you. That's what they are for. You may not see the frequency, the vibration. You may not see the waves that are coming out of my mouth. You can't see them visibly. But you know that they are happening. How do you know? Because you can hear it. How are you able to hear? Because my frequencies are traveling to you, and they get to inside of here, and they cause a stimulus upon your eardrums, and it vibrates, and there's an interpretation of that frequency in your mind, and it's processed. I am literally touching you right now with what I'm sending out, my frequency. I am impacting you right now. Hopefully, it is a positive effect. Hopefully, it is a high frequency positive effect on you. Hopefully, I raise your vibrations, you know what I'm saying? It take you to different levels. That's the greatest honor that we can bestow on each other, is for you to say that your vibrations, you rose, right? You rose from the dead. You were asleep, perhaps in a zombie-like state, whatever, because of where you come from, maybe. We haven't always been talked to on an intellectual level. So we find ourselves as like walking zombies. We're trying to figure it out. We don't know what the heck we're doing. We don't even know why we're on this planet. How much more of a walking zombie can you be if you don't even know why you exist? Man, can you see why suicide becomes an option? I don't even know why I'm here. Why do I exist? That's powerful. Well, I'm telling you today why you exist. I'm telling you, because you are here to affect and be affected by frequency. Positive. Okay? Negative frequencies are also necessary. They are also necessary. The scripture says there's a time to mourn, there's a time to be happy, joyful. All right? For everything, there is a time. Okay? Everything, there is a time. So we take what they call the good and the bad. Really, it's the positive and the negative. Okay? That's very important. It's very important. So hopefully, again, I am able to raise their vibration. I'm able to impart into you a positivity. All right? But we won't disregard the necessity of the negative as well. We can't disregard that. We need them both. Remember in math, you know, negative and positive, you know, negative plus a positive or negative times a positive. Remember, mathematics are consistent. We need them both sides of the equation, the yin and the yang. We need them. As above, so below. It's a necessary balance. And again, remember, we live in organized communities. It's a necessary balance. Okay? Essentially, it's a hypothecation or a borrowing of that realization. You know, this system has borrowed the natural order, natural law principles, all right, in order to put together workable communities. They haven't done it perfectly, obviously. There's always hiccups, right? But usually if you base things upon natural law principles, you know, usually the good will outweigh the bad. I want to remind you, okay, that the materialization of the immaterial is very key and very important. It's not just learning. It's not just consolidation of a whole lot of information. It's got to be about application, okay? And this is the year of application. I've dubbed that since last year. And so I'll remind you again of that formula, okay? When your actions, your activities, your actions, the things that you do line up with what you are divinely persuaded about, that's known as faith. Faith is divine persuasion. It comes from the Greek pistis, P-I-S-T-I-S, divinely persuaded. So when your actions line up with what you are divinely persuaded about, meaning what? What is divine? Divine, two words, divine. Di means two or twofold. A vine is a plant that produces fruit, right? Grapes on a vine produces a fruit. So when you are divinely persuaded, it means you're persuaded twofold, or that something is twofold profitable. So when your actions line up with what you believe, what you know is twofold profitable, and then that all lines up with natural law, that is known as due season. And due season is the harvest. There's a materialization of all the work, the ethic, the hard work, the determination, the blood, sweat, tears. And you have been looking forward to that crop and its harvest with hope. And if you recall, the definition of hope is anticipation with pleasure. Anticipation with pleasure. It's not just waiting for something, but it's waiting for something with pleasure. Okay? So if you want the materialization, I have now just put in your hearing, I've impacted upon your eardrum. And now your mind is processing that, hopefully. And that has elevated you through an impartation of the positive frequency of this Sunday. Okay? If you have received that, then it's for you to start manifesting the immaterial. And now you know how. Okay? So this year has to be different than any other year previous. Okay? We don't have to go forward in miscommunication, miseducation any longer. All right. We can all experience our own paradigm shift. Today, I wore this shirt because of divine persuasion. Okay. Divine persuasion. I didn't know I was going to be talking and mentioning the paradigm shift today, but I put on this shirt. The universe is speaking. Question is, are we on the proper frequency to absorb and to be affected by the frequency that the universe is speaking? Remember, there are little universes inside of us, and there's little universes inside of those universes, and so on and so on. Okay? Everything is talking right now. Everything is vibrating. Every frequency is out here. You just have to choose which one you're going to tune into. And if you don't want to be tuned into negativity, right? Stay on the higher frequency. Stay in positivity. Just every time if something negative seems to be encroaching, make sure that you cognizantly picture a button, a knob on the old radio, and just turn it a little bit. Remember, you didn't have to turn it much to get that channel in. Remember? If you recall, you're in your 30s or 40s. Remember? You barely had to turn that thing. And sometimes it'll be just off just a little bit, and all you hear is a little bit of static. Well, that's what the negativity is static in the line. You need to clean it up. Tune. It's called fine tuning. It don't take much, just a little tweak, right? To get that static out of the line. Remember the static on the radio? You just turn it just a little bit. All right. I think I've said enough. But this is what we're going. This is KnowledgeWell Media 3.0. Okay. And there will be an uptick in delivery, in teaching, and instruction, in impartations. There'll be more. I had to get rejuvenated. I have to be first partaker of those things that I'm sharing. I will not be hypocritical to my messages. Okay. Again, it's never been about the clicks, not about the popularity. I do want to influence those who, want to be influenced, but it's not necessarily the numbers. Okay. It's the effectivity and the proficiency, effectivity. That's what's key. That's what's most important. I'd rather have 10 loyal than to have 100 confused, mistaken, individuals. And that's true. So anyways, I set out to enjoy a little bit of the sunshine, just absorb, absorb these frequencies, get the sun. We've been locked down. We've been inside the house. We ain't been getting, the elements. We haven't been out in the elements. You need to get out and put your feet in the sand, take your shoes and socks off. You gotta force a moment for yourself. The system is not designed to sleep. It's not going to tell you, hey, you know what? I'll wait for you. Go take your socks and shoes off. Go head to the beach and just sit there. Don't do nothing. Just meditate or just breathe. The system's not going to do that. The system is not designed to sleep. All is commerce, baby. It's got to keep moving. Commerce can never stop. That's where you live at. And so you will have to force time for yourself. It's not going to make it easy for you. It's going to, the system is going to be speaking on its own frequency. It's going to be telling you, you better not stop, because if you stop, somebody's going to get yours. That's what the system's going to say to you. But you have to figure out what frequency you're going to listen to, what you're going to tune into, how to fine tune it. Okay. The onus is on you. So, all right, I've been on for 1 hour and 14 minutes. Oh man, ice water. Thank you. That's what I mean. I can't ask for more than that. For you to say that, I can't even ask for more than that. That made it all worth it. This 1 hour and 15 minute conversation, or It's not really a conversation. Well, it is a conversation because we're communicating back and forth. But that right there, that display, that frequency, made this whole hour and 15 minutes worth it. I'm just saying, because that's all. What else can I get? What can I'm transmitting, but I also need to receive. What else could I ask for than for you to say that message right there, Courtney? That right there, I needed that today. What else could I ask for? What else? What there's really nothing else. Otherwise, I'll just run in my mouth. I'm not putting down anybody else here. Politically incorrect. You've been very active. I appreciate that. I'm just saying, just that message there, though, just to say I needed that message. Yeah, that's why I do it. That's why I do what I do. So raise them vibrations. Tune into, the positive frequencies. The negative frequencies come as well. Okay. For example, there's a time to mourn, when someone transitions from this form into their next form. Okay. That's not necessarily, you don't feel like it's a positive, you don't feel positive in that moment. It's a time to mourn. But guess what? While you're mourning, while you're experiencing those negative frequencies, your whole family, friends, new things are born from that experience. And you all come together collectively like no other time. You see? So even in that negative, which is very necessary at times, it can be interpreted as positive frequency. You feel what I'm saying? And so we want to be comprehensive. we don't want to have a part of the truth. We want the whole truth. Okay. And so I'm gonna do my best at all times moving forward, going forward, to make sure that this education is comprehensive. All right. We're not one dimensional. We got to be 3 and 4 dimensional. Right. All right. With that being said, Politically Incorrect says, thank you for the work you put in. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I love y'all. I love y'all support. Y'all been with me, and others that are not here right now, but I'm sure they'll watch this on replay. I just wanted to make sure I got on here. Usually I would try to only go on Patreon, but I think every once in a while it's important. People are changing, people's minds are changing, people are growing, and I don't want to close anybody off, but in context, I have to also protect, the information, certain information. I have to protect, the people that entrust their education to me as well. So that's why, we have our membership over at the Patreon. So if you're interested in joining us, you're more than welcome. We would love to have you. Make sure you look in the description of this video and others to find the link to join us over at the Patreon. Okay. All right. So one more shout out to everybody. BB Productions is here. Heather Bell, thank you for being here. Amazingly illuminated. I like the way that you put that. Greetings to you and thank you for joining us. Let's see who else is here. Politically Incorrect, of course. And Ice Water. Thank you all for being here. Look forward to talking with you again, building with you again, growing in grace, growing in positivity, accepting that there also has to be the negative in order to balance this existence, or I should say, these existences, right? Universe after universe after universe. It's all within, and it keeps going. There is an eternity that makes us up inside of you alone. All right. I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Appreciate you too, Heather Bell.